public to meet all the legal requirements. So New Zealand First will be supporting this local bill.
Paul Goldsmith.
Thank you. I'd rise to speak in support of this bill. The Tasman District Council got themselves in a jam and they need to be got out of it, and I hope this bill will highlight to other councils the importance of proper scrutiny when setting their rates. I support this bill. Thank you.
Honourable Marianne Street.
Mr. Speaker, I'm somewhat surprised at the debate that's been going on over this bill and the contributions that have been made, and I want to pick up one of the points that my colleague, the Honourable Damien O'Connor, made at the outset, which was that he introduces this retrospective legislation in the case of Tasman District Council with reluctance. And yet there does not seem to be much of a frisson of concern in this House for what is actually happening with this bill. We will support it. I have for the last 5 years, Mr. Speaker, been living and working in Nelson. Nelson electorate boundary incorporates part of Tasman District Council. I meet with the Mayor of Tasman District Council on a regular basis, and we'll be meeting him on Monday, as I meet with the Mayor of Nelson on a regular basis. And so I'm familiar with some of the players in this. The area that Damien O'Connor has talked about, of course, Tarta Beach and Liger Bay, are over there in Golden Bay. And as other members have attested, of course it is a beautiful part of the country, but nobody loves it more than the people who live there. And I have a concern about this bill, and I urge the Select Committee to treat this issue very seriously. I have a concern that, in fact, the Tasman District Council is wearing the embarrassment of their mistakes and taking what they see to be the easy way out. They were quoted in the Nelson Mail. Paul Wiley, who was at the time the Chief Executive Officer but is no longer, was quoted in the Nelson Mail as saying that this is the cheaper of the options. Don't fight it out in the courts with the local residents, because that'll get too protracted and too expensive. Go to Parliament and use the big hammer to beat the little people, and let's make what we did wrong for a number of years right by the stroke of a pen. Now, Mr. Speaker, why are more members in this House not concerned about that? I think that is serious. I will support it. The member for West Coast Tasman has brought this in good faith to help repair a situation that has been affecting constituents in his electorate. But let this be a lesson to every local council in the country. They cannot simply and easily resort to the big hammer of Parliament to correct their bungles. And sometimes they might simply have to pay for them. And I wonder, Mr. Speaker, if there are grounds for the Clerk's Office to consider whether or not, in fact, Parliament should charge more than it does for local bills to come before Parliament. It does charge a sum, and I wonder if there should be, at times, some disincentive applying. So, Mr. Speaker, I raise these points because of the concern I have about retrospective legislation. It was a concern expressed by the sponsor of the bill, and he's doing this really to help his constituents and not to relieve the Tasman District Council of embarrassment, because embarrassed they should be. Embarrassed they should be. I could refer to other instances, Mr. Speaker, when in fact the Tasman District Council has treated constituents in the electorate that I work in with some disdain and in a cavalier way. And the movement of the Mai Tai Lodge is one case in point, but that's not what we are discussing tonight. And so this should be a lesson not only to Tasman District Council, but as Andrew Williams said previously, to all local bodies around the country to make sure that they have scrutinised the advice they're given, and I understand that councillors act in good faith on advice that they're given. But let this be a lesson to all of them. This will get support, but I hope the people of Liger Bay and Tarter Beach bring their concerns to the Select Committee and get a decent hearing there as well. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Scott Simpson.
Mr Speaker, I'd like to rise in support of my colleagues who have spoken previously on this Tasman District Council validation recovery of certain